This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Good evening and welcome to DP24 on Reflections, your civil engineering friendly reflection diary from Tasmania City, home of the Pau Festival, and I have wanted to share it with you guys, or friends rather, for the latest reflection, in which it stems from, I have been into the most challenging thing, especially I have wanted to serve all of you, my dear friends, and yes, of course, admit it or not, acts of service could be more of my love language here. And by the way, before we proceed further, hello to the Light of Jesus family, PTVNews family. I miss you so much because we haven't been there at the Cinema 2 of SYNOPSIS since it has been placed under the community quarantine. And of course, like this one, excuse me please, I got sneezed into the mid-sentence. But anyways, I miss you so dearly, especially to PTVNews family. Ever since we got into community quarantine, no free hugs, no close contact as of this time. And of course, let me remind you to practice the etiquette at all times. Since you have seen me sneezing in the mid-sentence, so we have to take care of our health. And by the way, sad news to all of us, dear feasters. FEASTATHOME Bay Area would no longer going the live anticipated mass worship and powerful talk. And if you have watched recently the Feast at Home Bay Area over the Feast Mall of Asia FB watch, and even Light of Jesus family, they would be back into the original Sunday gathering. And having said that, if there's some sort of background noise here, but anyways, apologies for some sort of disruption. But anyways, let me go back. Tomorrow would be the Feast at Home Bay Area and Cavite District live. Yes, of course, lessons and inspiration from the book of Matthew still were at the miracles and more. And yes, of course, don't forget that we are now going through the upcoming Feast Conference 2020 in the beginning. Of course, this is sponsored post, so that I might have to put up the disclaimer at the beginning after this replay edition, after this live diary session, or live online diary session rather. I'll put a disclaimer or such disclaimer that would identify that it's sponsored or contains paid content, since there's a ticket pricing either. But I myself, as a producer and host of DP24, would encourage you guys to attend most of the webinars or masterclasses from the Feast Conference. And don't you worry, guys, there's a certain discounts for senior citizens, people with disabilities, and even students. Visit feastconference.com for more information. That's feastconference.com. And by the way, hello also to AWGP SOS Podcast fam. And I have learned so much from those advices and even the teaching recently that we must humble ourselves. And for tomorrow's reading, for our dear Catholic folks, here's the disclaimer. If you have a different religious beliefs other than the Roman Catholic, you may skip this portion. For dear Catholic folks, Exodus chapter 22 verses 20 to 26, and also Psalm 18 or chapter 18 verses 2, 3, 4, 47, and 51. First letter of Apostle St. Paul to Thessalonians, chapter 1, verses 5 to 10, which is the continuation from the last week. And of course, the book of Matthew, chapter 22, verses 34 to 40. And there you go. What I have expected is this. You know what? Not everyone is welcoming our, especially on culture, for us, dear feasters. And even the recent teaching that there's one thing that every church gathering will surprise you most, because we have to welcome everyone and we have to avoid some sort of judgments. And having said that, if I could remember this, that our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ have invited those undesirable people, or should I call it sinners. And yes, you're right. I do admit that we are all sinners in need of our Savior. And as far as you have noticed, my phone got into some sort of technical difficulties. And yes, you're right. My phone got died 15 minutes earlier before the show starts, and I have to charge it immediately with the high quality wiring. Of course, during this pandemic, we are forced to be here in this room, wherein, if I could remember this one, I would rather serve people other than receive some sort of monetary form. Just to give you all some sorts of educational content and other lessons that you might get out from DP24 GTV or ETV. And as such, we have to take this very seriously, because this diary would contain more of my personal experience, and of course, in this episode, I would share more of my story on why I have a habit of serving people, especially when I'm on the highways, which is either on the sidewalk itself or close to the bus stop, tirelessly reminding certain people on what to do and not to do. And what I have realized is this. You know what? I have to help those people in need, especially the blind or the low vision people, or individual rather, because they might have some sort of difficulty seeing those places, and if you're blind like this, you might not be able to describe on what's happening around you, and students like me would like to observe and then help afterwards, since it's too hard for those blind people to navigate safely because there's no tactile paving. But I'll save further on that another episode of DPinFocus live session, maybe next year on another season. But let me say, you know what? I have to warn those people walking to move over, but they don't listen. Of course, there's an end result. Colliding with a cane that would make those people unable to look or feel for their very own cane. And I have decided to help him up afterwards. And yes, you're right. I have to, you know, guide him towards the designated terminals for jeeps bound for the Heroes interchange or Rosario, if ever. What could it be his destination? And I have warned other passengers to guide him properly. Of course, they would move over away from the designated seat intended for people with disability. Next story that I have to tell this to you is about the bus stop with a blind or low vision individual. Once again, of course, what I have to mind is all about the safety. And this one could be more like of, you know, not everyone could be able to understand what's going on, and if there's a supposedly a designated seat for people with disability, you know what? Those people already seated has to yield to them. And that is a part of another manners on using bus or train or elevator or so on and so forth that would be saved for another DPinFocus live session. But then again, I have to warn them again to move over to another seat. But for my experience, I have no problems when it comes to sitting or standing, depending on the distance involved and the availability of seats. But lo and behold, the bus is heading to Silang, and of course, I have to, drop off myself, but of course, I have to, tell the blind individual to be safe before I drop off in Washington Place, wherein it's also DP24 base location, and therefore on the following encounter, wherein my mom have to be massaged by a blind individual also working as a massager, or what could it be the correct term for this one? He does massage to those people, and therefore I have to help him once more from his seat all the way to the restroom and back once again. Me as a, a guy who would rather serve other people, just like me, I do serve also at the FEAST as a media ministry servant ever since from May 2017 until now, alongside with the open street mapping. And of course, I have so many commitments to be done, especially on the academics, and even includes the submissions of the required works. Of course, I'm not 100% sure if there would be some sort of programming disruption due to the health break or the, excuse this. All Saints Day is on Sunday also. All Souls Day on Monday. And if I could open the calendar on my PC, which is also, my personalized, oh my goodness me, 26 November could be the Papa Festival, and I'm not 100% sure if this would continue or not for the on-site or online, but for me, I would rather place all of the special programs to online, or if it's impossible, it would be cancelled for safety reasons. And instead, on the Special Mapping 101 Thursday's live session, I would like to discuss more on the city development. And as usual, Pray 7, Pray 8. Usual programming would continue except on that 3-week break of DP24 in Focus live session, in which it could be conflicting or otherwise there's a high chance of some sort of programming disruption. And I have to, realize something, that scheduling is always a hard thing for me to do. And so live to Facebook and YouTube, and of course 7th of November would be the of the end episode 12, and likewise would resume episode 13 on 5th December instead, all the way until 26 December. And that being said, if there would be a special coverage, there would be a high chance of disruption. But mind you guys, that even though those schedules could not be met due to some sort of scheduling reasons, me as a Catholic myself, that there would be always a Misa de Gallo. I might have to end the 15th episode by 19th December instead. And for DP24 in Focus live session, there would be a possibility of the season break. So mind you guys, that 12th episode would conclude at 7th November, and the following weeks would be cancelled due to some sort of commitments. And even the feast conference will resume at the 5th December for the 13th and the 15th episode, which could be the end of the year episode. 15th could be at 19th December. Of course, there's a Christmas break and New Year's break. And the 16th episode could be softly resumed at 16th January in 2021 instead, if this would have some sort of programming upgrades. But for the meantime, hopefully so that everyone could understand the message that I would rather serve people. And thanks be to God that to this date and technological age, we could surely share the evangelization efforts, and likewise, I have a plan also to start feast light or a larger feast. But I should have to share this one for the later at the right time because I have a commitment for the academics. I have also a commitment for the mapping, and sooner or later, Panliligaw 101 at the right time. Ever since that the pandemic disaster have disrupted our daily routine, which is supposedly be the on-site, hopefully so, God could make a way for me to have some sort of dating with this special someone until you, you know, we might not know that we could be fallen for each other already to the point of becoming in a relationship towards the marriage and married life. And as far as the advices from my dear feasters or feast servants rather, we should have to, oh my goodness me, the green screen got dropped. But anyways, I'm going to fix this one before I proceed to the Orasio Imperata. And now it's a fixed one. And so, without further ado, hopefully this would be more like, oh my goodness me.